The champions of Europe had a late surge in the Premier League last season after Thomas Tuchel took over, and they will look to hope to improve on that and move up in the top four in this upcoming season. However, they have been very, very quiet in the transfer window so far, not putting in an offer for Erling Haaland, unable to get Lukaku away from Inter, and still unable to finalize the deal with Jules Koundé to Chelsea, although it does seem likely that that will eventually be finalized. Well, that being said, there are still a lot of question marks moving around Chelsea before the season starts. Most notably, who will be their number 9? With that being said, I will give it off to Lane here to give his thoughts on last year's season for Chelsea as well as the season coming forward.
Well, last year Chelsea did have a very good year, obviously winning the Champions League, but they did manage to squeak into Champions League football on the final day of the season with the skin of their teeth after Leicester failing to capitalize after Chelsea's loss. But Chelsea did come in fourth, just 2 points behind Liverpool, who had a disastrous season. Chelsea didn't have the greatest of Premier League seasons, but they did have a fantastic Champions League, which really changed things for Chelsea's season. They, like you've talked about for transfers, clearing out a lot of dead wood, getting rid of Victor Moses, somehow getting 5.5 million for him. I do not know how. Somehow getting some money for Olivier Giroud and getting Marco Van Ginkel out of the club after about 50 years. Billy Gilmore finally gets a loan deal, which he really needed, and he should probably leave the club permanently because Chelsea just have too many central midfielders. I don't see him eventually cutting into there. And Fikayo Tomori getting a huge sum of money for him, which was massive, and only bringing in a backup goalkeeper in Marcus Bentinelli, which I find very interesting that Fabrizio tweeted saying he will be a backup goalkeeper because you already have Edouard Mendy there and Kepa. So one of them is likely probably to depart or something to happen there because it is very odd that he has been talked about as a backup goalkeeper for Chelsea.
Yeah, the use
But
the
Chelsea
use
have a
of
very good.
Martinelli will be for when Mendy's gone to the AFCON Cup, because he'll be gone for about a month or so. So then he'll be the backup.
Well, that does make a bit more sense then, because then Chelsea does have a stronger backup goalkeeper instead of having to use a U23 goalkeeper or academy goalkeeper. But it'll be very interesting to see if they do make way for goalkeeper because there's a lot of wages to have Kepa and Mendy on wages. I think they should clear out Kepa because it's not worth to have his wages sitting around at the club for a backup role. But Chelsea do have a great year coming up ahead of them, and it'll be interesting to see how they finish.
Yeah, I think ideally, I'm sure they still would like to move on from Kepa at some point, but he was better last year in limited minutes. Now, sure, he wasn't anything spectacular and definitely not worth the money we signed him at. But he's entering year 3 of this deal now. After this year, he is only going to have 2 more years left, and so it's possible he does just end up riding this out at Chelsea. With that being said, as you mentioned, the fact that we're talking about Bentinelli as their only signing and talking about the goalie situation at Chelsea tells you everything you need to know about the transfer window for Chelsea so far. They're still in talks to try and bring in a number 9, but nothing is looking any bit close for Lukaku or Erling Haaland. And then it's a matter of do they fall back on a backup option or just go in again with Havertz or Timo or Tammy Abraham up top next season. That still remains to be seen. It's unsure as to whether Erling Haaland will join, as to whether Lukaku will join. Those don't seem overly likely at this point in time. And then there's been talks, well, do they bring in someone of a lesser caliber, like someone like Danny Ings? And personally, as a Chelsea fan, I don't really want to bring in someone who's just a little bit of a step below. Now, that's no knock against Danny Ings. He is a very good striker, but Danny Ings isn't exactly your elite striker that someone like Chelsea should be waiting to bring in. I'd assume just put Havertz up there for the year if that's the type of signing you're going to be able to make. If all you can get is Danny Ings, and I think Havertz can be fine up there. I think he's starting to look a little bit more comfortable with life in the Premier League. And as he continues to mature, get older, get stronger, get a bit more physically up to the strength of the Premier League, and maybe he can be the guy up there for a year and you try again next summer. But I don't think there is too much benefit to signing someone that's just well, we'll sign him for the year and then we try and look again next year. As far as outside of a striker, of course, Jules Koundé has been rumored, and that would be a good signing, I think. He'd be a great signing for the future and for the present. Having him on the right-hand side alongside Reece James as a right center back and right wing back pairing for the future would be absolutely brilliant. And it's still a bit unclear as to whether Declan Rice is going to be coming to Chelsea. West Ham want a couple of Chelsea players. Chelsea want Declan Rice. Whether that deal materializes will remain to be seen, but that'll be something that'll continue to be talked about for the rest of the window. But that's kind of the nature it is for Chelsea right now. I think as of right now, they're still a fine team, but they would like to add a couple more pieces. And it's just kind of been a wait and see type of window. And I think that's really going to determine how things go for them this season. If they add an elite number 9, the result and the outlook on this team is a lot different and if they don't add anyone up top and continue to add a few other pieces around that.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens for Chelsea. Kunde looks more and more likely, but they need to add some more money onto that deal with Zuma, or it does not look like it's going to happen for Jules Kunde. Lukaku, it sounds like they're pushing harder and harder to get Romelu over the line. And Haaland, I just don't think it's the summer for Haaland. I think next summer you're going to see United and probably Chelsea go in for Erling Haaland. But I think if Lukaku does join Chelsea, I think Haaland is all United's for the taking. It is going to be very interesting to see what Chelsea does for business. But where do you have them finishing in the league this coming year?
I have them finishing third of this season. Now that changes a little bit if they do end up signing a number 9, but I think third is where I currently have them under the assumption that they don't bring anyone in, because quite frankly, I'm not overly positive about us bringing anyone in, and I'm not going to make any assumptions that are just going to throw us higher up the table. So I think third's there. I think we're still going to be a very good team. We're going to be very sound defensively, still well coached under Thomas Tuchel. I think the midfield's still going to be very good with the likes of Conte, Jorginho, and Kovacic. Even if someone like Declan Rice doesn't get brought in, it's just going to be, can we finish off enough of those chances up top? And I think that'll be enough to get us up into third. But without a number 9, I don't see us getting any higher than that.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. I had Chelsea surprisingly coming third as well, just like you did. I have two other clubs from north of England coming up in second and first place, but I do have the London Blues in third. And there's not much else to say for why I have them in third. You kind of summed it all up right there. But my player of the year for Chelsea, I feel like it's going to be Kai Havertz. I think for them to have such a brilliant year, it'll have to be Kai Havertz stealing the show for them, playing brilliant like he did at the end of last year. I think he's going to have a great year. Like you said, he shaped well to the end of the season, showing that he coped with the league, showing how he coped with the physicality, and he really took storm at the end of the year. Obviously, the start of the year wasn't really up to standard. He took a little while to get used to the league, and once he got used to the league, he really showed what he had and his real talent and potential.
Yeah, certainly. I think it has to be a very good year for Kai Havertz for Chelsea to have that good of a season. And I think that's certainly something he will do. But I'm going to take a bit of an off the radar pick for my player of the season for Chelsea this season, and that's going to be Jorginho. I think he's going to have to be very crucial for them in the midfield this season. N'Golo Kante, I think is the better player in that midfield, but Jorginho's just going to get more game time. And N'Golo Kante, as he continues to get older, seems to need a bit more rest, pick up a few more injuries. So I think Jorginho is going to be very crucial for them in that midfield, playing game in, game out, and multiple competitions. So I think he is going to be the most crucial player for Chelsea this season. That being
Yeah,
said, that is our thoughts on Chelsea. You got anything else to add?
no, I was just saying that was probably going to be would have been my second shout. I think he just holds that midfield together so nicely. Him and Mason Mount are such a great duo in that midfield, and I think you're spot on to choose Jorginho as one of your players of the year.
For sure. Well, with that being said, let us know your thoughts down in the comment section down below on where you think Chelsea will end up finishing this season. If you think they will end up getting top 4, or if they will fall out again this season. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and click the box on the right hand side of your screen to see all of the other Premier League season preview videos we have already done. And we'll be continuing to do Premier League season previews for every team in the league, so be sure to hit that subscribe button if that is something you're interested in. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys in the next one.